Hey y'all, welcome back to the Forge. Today I'm going to be working on a pretty simple project. We're going to stick with the cooking and we're going to make a swing arm cooker. And what I've got here is one I've already made. This is 42 inches of 5/8 round bar. I make mine just a little bit heavier than some people do because I like to do a little heavier cooking. But it's pretty simple. All it is, you make your arm, you make them with a hook. I also have one with a grill grate, works the same way. But today we're going to be making one with a hook for hanging pots and one with a round circle like an eye burner. But you can move it up and down pretty easy. The weight of it and the friction on the bar holds it in place. And you can swing it around side to side. Either way you put it, it's going to stay there. Like I said, it's a very simple project. But there is two things that will make this go a little bit easier if you want to make some, and that are some jigs. Now, what I've got here is the jig I made for the loops that go on the bar. So when you go on here, this is 5/8, and this is just a piece of flat bar. So when you go on it, you hook it right there on the flat bar and you twist it around. And I made it where you can clear. It's just short on that side, so you can clear it when you're twisting around because you want it to stack instead of looping on top of each other. Now the other one is just a simple round pipe jig. And I stick this one in a vise. A little bit bigger piece of pipe I stick on there. And this will make our eye on our second arm. And I'm going to try to get through this today. As you can tell, I've got this big brace on my arm. I've got some really bad tendonitis. If I can't do it right-handed, we'll just have to try to do it left-handed. But I said I was going to get it done this weekend, so I'm going to push through and try to get it done for you. But I'm going to get started, and we'll pick up here in a minute. So the first step is to forge a point on our stake that's going to get driven to the ground. This is basically all the forging that you have to do to this piece. Like I said, this is 5/8, so it's going to take just a little bit to get it down where we want it. Gonna get another heat. I believe we're gonna have to swap and try to do it left-handed. I have not coordinated at all with my left hand, so we'll see how this goes. This part really isn't 100% necessary, but if you have hard soil like we do around here, it makes it a little bit easier to drive in. Now we'll just get this cleaned up a little bit. Make sure it's nice and straight. like I said, that's all the forging we really need to do to that piece. So for the next step, I have 2 pieces of 1/2 inch square. This one is 16 inches and this one is 24 inches. This one is going to be the burner eye where you can sit your pan on. This one's going to be the hook. This one has to be a little bit longer because it's going to take more material to go around our jig to make that big circle. So we'll get these in the forge and get them heated up and we'll get started on those. Now to start with these, I want to come back here about 2.5 inches or so, and I'm going to start working this, and all I want to do is flatten it and draw it out. For this, I'm using the cross peen to help draw it out faster. You can also do this over the horn of the anvil like this. You got that rounded edge, it helps you draw it out a little quicker. If you have a guillotine tool or a spring puller, it also helps. I don't want that to mushroom out the sides too much, so we'll turn it and make sure it's straightened back out. It's really hard doing something left-handed when you're not used to it. We'll just keep working that until I get it drawn out and flat. And I want it down to about probably a 1/4 inch thickness. Like I said, we can use our spring fuller to help speed this up a little bit. I can get it to stay in place. Pop that out. Getting pretty close to what we want there. On the end of it, you can take, you can draw it out down the point, put you a little decorative curl on it, like that one's got. But today, with what I'm dealing with, I think I'm just going to keep it simple. I'm going to draw it down to a taper so it'll come in just flat under that next loop up. Now, like I said, we've got our thickness and our length about where we want it. I'm just going to draw this down to a flat taper. See if that'll keep it lined up on our loops when we spin it around on the jig. Alright, so that's all I need as far as that. I took this down about half the thickness and drew it out to about twice what it was. We're going to put on our next seat, we're going to put it on the jig and put our loops that will go down onto the cooker, on the swing arm part. Like I said, on this part is where a jig helps really good. We're just going to turn that around and come up. You may have to help it just a little bit with your hammer. Make sure you hit your tripod. with it as you turn it around. So there it is. We'll have to take another heat because I'm a little bit twisted and I'm sticking up a little bit. So we'll take one more heat and we'll straighten that up. That's also where a 5/8 drift would be nice, and I may have one, so we may clean that up on the anvil and then re-drift it. So we're gonna just knock it back down onto our jig here. You don't want it super tight because you want to be able to move it up and down pretty easy. So all I'm gonna do now is take my twisting wrench here. Just try to turn it back up straight. And then we want to get it flat. And like I said, we'll just work it around that. Try to tighten everything up. You may have to come off and on to it. Get over there to the anvil. But that's basically it on that side of it. Now we can work on the other end. Now, when you're working with jigs and different things, keep in mind that as you're working on them, the heat transfers into them and they will get hot. So this is going to be for our burner loop. I'm just going to hold this with my bending forks. Almost not quite wide enough. I'm just going to try to come all the way around here. I have to get a little bit more. Let's get another heat and get it back in here. But that's where the jig comes in. You get a nice smooth circle all the way around. Now we come back to it. Let's clean it up. Want to get right here. I want to come off straight. You may just take this back to the anvil to clean everything up, true it up, and I have to flatten it anyways. But that is our fire for the cooker. I'm gonna throw this back in, let it heat up, and we'll flatten it back out. Give me a chance to move the camera over for y'all. Now, like I said, we're just gonna try to flatten everything, true it up. Close this loop up. Jig just helps you get close, but you're still going to have to do some by hand just to true everything up. Wow, that is it for the burner eye. One thing I may do, I know I was going to keep it simple, but it's a square bar and I just can't resist putting a twist in it, so we're going to put a twist in this section. One thing you got to watch for that, we'll see we're already off because that's eye straight up and down, but that'll help us get this eye back flat where it needs to be. Back to the vise. We'll put it in straight up and down where I can see that eye on the bottom side. Take my twisting wrench here. We'll see how it looks as we go. There's one full turn, half. We'll go 2 full turns there. As I'm turning, we'll try to get this eye lined up straight with the eye that goes onto our rod. Now, sometimes this will take a little tweaking here and there just to keep everything, make sure you get it lined up good. I think we need just a little bit more, because you want your pan sitting flat. You set your pan on it so our grease don't run to one side. And that should have us pretty close. I'll let it cool off and I'll do a test fit. Hey, really, I don't even need to let it cool off. So go ahead and do us a test fit here. I'd say that looks pretty straight. So we're good on that piece. Next, we'll do the same process here, the same twist, but we'll put a hook in our other piece to hang your Dutch oven or coffee pot or whatever you want to hang on it that's got a loop that you can hang. So now we have our first 2 pieces done. Our last piece is going to be our hook arm. Like I said, this one is 16 inches long. We're going to draw this out to wrap around our jig for the arm part, and then this side will be the hook, and we'll put a twist in the middle. This one we're going to go ahead and start with the hook end, because you've already seen the same process for the other end. That process is the same for any style of arm you make. Hooks, we're going to do it the same as we do on smaller S hooks and J hooks. I'm going to draw this out to a taper, put our little curly Q on the end, and we'll round up our hook. We'll just keep working our taper down. We want a nice gradual taper all the way down to the point. Keep everything nice and straight. Thin this part just a little bit more. Like I said, I'm not left-handed, and this is really hard to do left-handed. I've got my taper down like I want it. I'm just going to make sure everything's nice and flat. I think as far as the hook, I'm just going to knock these corners off a little bit. put our little curl on it, and then start on our hook. We'll just work this over the edge. Bring it back. Keep everything nice and round here. Go ahead and start our bend on it. Now we'll stick it back in, get one more heat, and we'll go to the jig to make the hook. So now when we go to the jig, we'll pull our little curl off so we don't mess it up. Just hook it in, get our hook, and then we'll come all the way back around. Flatten it out. That way our hook sticks out and it's not curled all the way up. Because our bar is going to sit like this, so we need our hook to be flat with our bar. So like I said, now that we have our hook, it's just the same process for the other end that we already done on the first one. So same thing here, we've got our hook and our eye. So now we got to put our twist in. On our hook, straight with our eye. Try to keep everything nice and straight on it. We don't want big bends or curves like we got a small one there. One trick, knock everything off. One trick for this, you can use a rawhide mallet or wood mallet. We got just a little bit of a curve right there. I don't want to mess up my twist I just put in it. So I use one of my old baseball bats and just go it on top of the stump. If I hit it with a hammer, it's going to mash my points on my twist. But there's our hook on for our cooker. So now that we got it all done, we take our rod here, and drive it down through all them roots and rocks. Take our arm for our pan. And then shrunk on me since it's cooled off. Yep, sometimes that's what you run into. So take two, let's try this again. Drive our rod in. You take our pan one, slide it down. Like I said, you can whatever height you want to cook at. And one reason I like to use square bar, it's nice and flat. And we'll take our other hook and have you some coffee going while you're cooking your breakfast. Like I said, our setup here, you can turn it off the heat, you can raise it up and down. Anywhere you want to set it, it's going to stay there. Turn it off the heat. Let everything be cooling down, getting ready to eat. Let your pan cool. So, like I said, it's a pretty simple project. It is a little bit heavier hammer work because it is thicker material, being 5/8 and a half. but it's simple, it's fairly quick, it's very handy setup. If you do like to cook outside or cook by the campfire, like I said, you can make multiple arms, you can do hooks, you can do eyes, you can do a grill grate. They're easy to swap out. You just slide them off the top, slide them on the bottom. But thank y'all for watching. Thanks for giving me a little patience with my injury here. It took a little bit longer doing things left-handed. I'm not as coordinated, but I hope you learned something. I hope you enjoyed it. Like I said, thank you for watching. Y'all have a good one. One last thing, the kids wanted to make an appearance, so y'all say hey and whatever's on your mind.
Hey.
Y'all have a good one.